Soul versus system, why your spirit is more powerful than any matrix.
That's not just the title of today's video. That's a declaration of war against every force trying to control your consciousness.
Right now, there's a battle raging for your soul. And here's what they don't want you to know. The controllers are losing. They know it, you're about to know it, and that changes everything.
Because what Darius J. Wright discovered will shatter every limitation you've been programmed to accept about your spiritual power.
We're not talking about positive thinking or manifestation techniques here. We're talking about your soul's actual capacity to override any system, break any programming, and rewrite reality itself. Your spirit operates on quantum levels that make their most advanced control mechanisms look like Stone Age tools.
In the next 20 minutes, we're going to prove why your soul is literally unstoppable, show you the weapons you were born with, and teach you how to use them.
Fair warning, once you understand what we're about to reveal, you'll never see yourself as powerless again. You can't unsee your own sovereignty.
So let's be crystal clear about what we're really talking about here. When we say soul versus system, we're not talking about some abstract philosophical concept or feel-good spirituality.
We're talking about the most important battle of your existence, the fight between your infinite spiritual nature and every mechanism designed to make you forget how powerful you actually are.
According to Darius J. Wright's groundbreaking research, this isn't just about government control or corporate manipulation. This goes so much deeper. We're talking about the systematic suppression of human soul power across multiple dimensions of existence.
Think about it. Why would every major institution on the planet work overtime to convince you that you're just a biological accident? Why does the system go to such extreme lengths to make you believe you're weak, limited, and dependent?
Because they know something about your soul that you've been trained to forget. Darius discovered that every human spirit carries what he calls quantum sovereignty, the ability to transcend any limitation imposed by physical reality.
And here's what the controllers never expected. Your spirit isn't just more powerful than their matrix. It's so far beyond their comprehension that their entire system starts to collapse when even one soul fully awakens to its true nature.
We're talking about 3 specific battlegrounds where this war is fought every single day. First, the mental battlefield, where they try to program your thoughts. Second, the energetic battlefield, where they attempt to harvest your spiritual power. And third, the soul contract battlefield, where they try to trap you in limitation agreements.
But here's the game changer that Darius uncovered. On every single one of these battlegrounds, your soul has weapons they cannot defend against, powers they cannot understand, and abilities they cannot replicate.
The system can create artificial intelligence, manipulate frequencies, even alter DNA. But they cannot touch the essence of what you truly are, an eternal, sovereign, multidimensional being of infinite creative power.
And if you're feeling that spark of recognition right now, if something inside you is saying, yes, I've always known I was more than what they told me, make sure you're subscribed, because this journey into soul sovereignty is just beginning.
But here's what you absolutely cannot miss. Stay with us until the very end, because we're going to reveal what Darius calls the Soul Sovereignty Activation Protocol. It's a technique so powerful that it can literally break you free from any system control in real time. And we're going to walk you through it step by step. This is not information you want to miss.
All right, let's dive into something that will completely change how you see this battle. Darius J. Wright discovered something that absolutely terrifies the controllers. And once you understand what it is, you'll see why they work so desperately to keep you spiritually asleep.
He found that every system of control, whether it's political, financial, social, or technological, has one fatal flaw. They can only control what they can predict, measure, and understand. And your soul operates completely outside their ability to comprehend.
Think about how a computer works. It follows linear programming. If this, then that. Input, processing, output. Every control system operates the same way. They create stimulus, they expect predictable response.
But according to Darius, your soul operates on what he calls quantum consciousness. It exists in multiple possibilities simultaneously. It can access information from outside linear time, and it can literally rewrite the rules of reality through pure intention.
Imagine trying to control someone who can see all your moves before you make them, who can access solutions you never thought of, and who operates from a level of power you don't even believe it exists. That's why they fear awakened souls.
The quantum nature versus linear programming.
Let me give you a concrete example of how this plays out. The system says, you need this degree to get this job, to make this money, to have this lifestyle. Linear programming, right? A to B to C to D.
But Darius documented cases of awakened individuals who completely bypassed that entire sequence. They tapped into their soul's creative power and manifested opportunities, resources, and experiences that had no logical pathway. The system can't account for that because it doesn't understand that consciousness creates reality, not the other way around. They think reality creates consciousness, that you're just a biological accident responding to external circumstances. But when your soul is fully activated, you realize you're not in the matrix is in you. You're not subject to the system's rules because you're operating from the level where those rules are created.
And this is where Darius's research gets really fascinating. He found that awakened souls don't just break the system's rules, they expose how arbitrary and powerless those rules actually are.
Let me give you some examples that will blow your mind. Darius documented a case of a woman who was told she had 6 months to live. Doctors, medical systems, statistics all said impossible to recover. But instead of accepting the system's verdict, she went into what Darius calls soul override mode. She accessed her spirit's healing power, completely rewrote her cellular programming, and fully healed within 3 months.
The medical system had no explanation. They called it spontaneous remission, which is just their way of saying, our system can't account for this, so we'll pretend it's random.
Or consider the financial realm. Darius studied people who were told they'd never escape poverty, never build wealth, never break free from economic limitations. But when they learned to operate from soul power instead of system programming, they created abundance through pathways the financial system said were impossible, not through luck or connections, but through pure spiritual manifestation.
The system teaches scarcity, competition, limitation, but your soul knows abundance, collaboration, and infinite possibility. When you operate from soul truth, you make the system's lies obvious.
Here's what really keeps the controllers up at night. Fear-based control only works on people who have forgotten their spiritual power.
According to Darius, the entire control matrix is built on one foundational lie, that you are separate, weak, and dependent. Every system of oppression relies on you believing you're powerless.
But when you connect with your soul's true nature, you realize you're connected to infinite intelligence, you have access to unlimited creative power, and you're absolutely sovereign over your own experience.
Fear becomes irrelevant because you know your essence is eternal. Threats become meaningless because you understand you're operating from a dimension they can't touch.
Darius calls this fearless frequency. When you embody your soul's fearless nature, their entire arsenal of control tactics becomes useless. You can't intimidate someone who knows they're immortal.
And here's the beautiful part. This fearless frequency is contagious. When one person stands in their full soul power, it gives everyone around them permission to do the same.
Now, this brings us to something crucial that Darius discovered about energy signatures. Every person broadcasts either soul power or system programming, and you can learn to read the difference.
People operating from system programming carry what he calls limitation frequency. They unconsciously broadcast fear, scarcity, and powerlessness. They're living from their conditioning, not their spirit.
But individuals connected to their soul power broadcast sovereign frequency. They radiate confidence, creativity, and unlimited possibility. They're living from their essence, not their programming.
And here's what's wild. The system can detect these frequencies too. That's why awakened souls often experience increased challenges, obstacles, or attacks. The matrix recognizes a threat to its control.
But according to Darius, these challenges aren't punishment. They're actually invitations to claim even more of your power. Every obstacle overcome from soul strength makes you exponentially more powerful.
So we've established that the system fears your soul because it operates from a level of power they can't understand or control. But that raises the obvious question. If your soul is so powerful, why don't more people access this power?
That's exactly what we're diving into next. Darius J. Wright didn't just identify why your soul is more powerful than any matrix. He discovered the specific weapons your spirit comes equipped with, and more importantly, how to activate them. Because your soul isn't just powerful in theory, it's armed with practical, usable abilities that can defeat any form of control in real time. And most people have no idea these weapons even exist.
Here's something that will revolutionize how you see yourself. According to Darius J. Wright, every soul incarnates with what he calls a spiritual arsenal. These are abilities so powerful that the system has spent centuries convincing humanity they don't exist.
But they do exist. They're built into your spiritual DNA. And once you know how to access them, no form of control can touch you. We're talking about 4 primary weapons that are literally undetectable to system surveillance.
And the beautiful thing is, these aren't mystical abilities you need years of training to develop. According to Darius, they're natural functions of your soul that have simply been suppressed through systematic programming.
So let's break down each weapon and show you exactly how to activate them in real-world situations. Weapon 1, Intuitive Sovereignty.
The first weapon Darius calls intuitive sovereignty, and this is your soul's ability to bypass all mental programming and access truth directly.
Here's how it works. The system controls people by controlling what they think is possible, what they think is true, what they think is allowed. But your soul knows truth that exists beyond any programming.
So, when you're facing a decision or trying to navigate a situation, instead of analyzing it with your programmed mind, you drop into what Darius calls soul knowing mode.
Practically, this means asking your soul directly, what's really true here? And then trusting the first knowing that arises, not the first thought, but the first deep knowing.
Darius found that people who master this weapon become virtually impossible to deceive because they're not relying on external information. They're accessing internal truth that the system cannot manipulate.
Your intuitive sovereignty can see through lies, identify hidden agendas, and recognize authentic opportunities even when they don't make logical sense. The second weapon is what Darius calls energetic boundaries. And this is absolutely crucial for maintaining your soul power in a system designed to drain it.
Most people don't realize they're energetic beings first, physical beings second. The system constantly harvests your spiritual energy through fear, drama, outrage, and distraction. But according to Darius, your soul can create what he calls impenetrable spiritual shields, energetic boundaries that no system manipulation can cross.
Here's the technique. Visualize a sphere of golden light around your entire being. But this isn't just imagination. You're actually activating your soul's natural protective field.
When you're in toxic environments, dealing with manipulative people, or exposed to fear-based media, consciously activate this shield. Your soul's energy stays sovereign, and their attempts to drain or program you simply bounce off.
Darius documented cases where people using this technique became immune to workplace toxicity, family manipulation, and even targeted harassment. The attacks continued, but they couldn't penetrate the person's spiritual field.
Now, the third weapon is where things get really revolutionary. Darius calls it timeline jumping, and this is your soul's ability to escape predestined system paths.
The system wants you to believe your future is predetermined based on your education, your background, your circumstances, your limitations. They literally create timeline programming to keep you trapped in predictable outcomes.
But your soul exists in multiple timelines simultaneously. According to Darius, you can consciously shift from a limitation timeline to a possibility timeline through what he calls quantum choice points.
Here's how it works. Practically, when you're facing a situation where the system says you have limited options,
You ask your soul, what timeline am I available for that the system doesn't want me to see?
Then you make choices from that expanded awareness, even when they seem illogical or impossible from the system's perspective.
Darius found that people who master this timeline jumping start experiencing miraculous synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, and outcomes that defy all statistical probability. Because they're not playing by the system's rules anymore. They're operating from soul possibility instead of system limitation.
The fourth weapon is perhaps the most powerful, and Darius calls it soul contract renegotiation. This is your ability to rewrite the spiritual agreements that keep you trapped in limitation patterns.
Most people don't realize they have soul contracts, agreements made at the spiritual level before incarnation. Some of these contracts serve your growth, but others have been corrupted by system interference.
According to Darius, you can actually renegotiate these contracts consciously. You're not stuck with patterns of struggle, scarcity, or limitation just because they've been running your whole life.
The technique is profound in its simplicity. You go into deep meditation, connect with your soul's highest wisdom, and declare, I renegotiate any contract that limits my spiritual sovereignty and service to humanity's awakening. Then you consciously choose new agreements, contracts for abundance, joy, authentic power, and unlimited creative expression.
Darius documented dramatic life changes in people who applied this technique. Sudden healing of chronic conditions, breakthrough in stuck financial situations, transformation of toxic relationships. Because they literally rewrote the spiritual programming that was creating their limitations.
Now, you might be wondering, if these weapons are so natural and so powerful, why don't more people know about them? And according to Darius, it's the most successful suppression campaign in human history. The system has convinced people that spiritual abilities are either fantasy, dangerous, or only available to special individuals.
They've weaponized religion to make you believe you're powerless without external salvation. They've used science to convince you consciousness is just brain activity. They've employed psychology to pathologize spiritual experiences.
But the truth is, every human soul comes equipped with these weapons because they're necessary for spiritual evolution. The system fears awakened souls because awakened souls can't be controlled.
So let's talk about how to actually use these weapons in real-world situations, because theory without application is useless.
When you're dealing with bureaucracy, use intuitive sovereignty to see through their power games and find the real solution they don't want you to know about. When you're in toxic work environments, activate your energetic boundaries so their dysfunction cannot contaminate your spiritual field. When you're facing impossible financial or relationship situations, use timeline jumping to access the possibilities they're telling you don't exist. And when you recognize limiting patterns that keep repeating in your life, apply soul contract renegotiation to literally rewrite your spiritual programming. The key is remembering that you're not using these weapons against people. You're using them against systems of control that keep both you and others trapped in limitation. Transition to part 3.
Now, when you start using these soul weapons consistently, something incredible happens. You begin creating what Darius calls matrix glitches.
These are moments when your soul power literally overrides system programming so completely that reality bends around you in ways that shouldn't be possible according to conventional understanding.
Coming up, we're sharing real cases of awakened souls breaking the matrix so dramatically that even skeptics couldn't explain what happened. These stories will show you just how unlimited your spiritual power really is.
All right, now we're getting into territory that's going to challenge everything you've been told about what's possible. These are real cases that Darius J. Wright documented, where awakened souls literally broke the matrix.
And I want to be clear, we're not talking about feel-good stories or lucky breaks. We're talking about people who accessed their soul power so completely that they overrode what the system claimed were absolute limitations.
Let me start with a case that still gives me chills. Darius worked with a man who was told by multiple specialists that his degenerative spine condition would leave him paralyzed within 2 years. The medical system was unanimous: irreversible, progressive, no hope.
But instead of accepting the system's verdict, this man went into what Darius calls soul override protocol. He stopped seeing himself as a victim of genetic programming and started embodying his soul's perfect blueprint.
Within 6 months, his spine was completely regenerated, not improved, regenerated. New cartilage, new bone density, perfect mobility. The doctors called it impossible, but there he was, walking, running, completely healed.
When the medical system can't explain something, they either ignore it or call it spontaneous remission. But according to Darius, there's nothing spontaneous about it. It's soul power overriding system programming.
Now, let me share a financial case that defies every economic principle the system teaches. Darius documented a single mother who was drowning in debt, facing eviction with no apparent way out.
The financial system had her completely trapped. Bad credit, no collateral, limited income. Every conventional path said she was destined for poverty and struggle.
But she learned to access what Darius calls soul abundance frequency. Instead of operating from scarcity programming, she aligned with her soul's natural state of infinite possibility.
Within 3 months, opportunities started appearing that had no logical pathway. Business partnerships from nowhere, investment opportunities she wasn't qualified for, resources manifesting through channels that shouldn't have existed.
She went from facing homelessness to financial abundance, but not through any method the system teaches. She accessed her soul's creative power and literally manifested a completely different reality.
The system wants you to believe abundance requires specific education, connections, or circumstances. But your soul can access infinite resources directly from the quantum field.
Here's another category of matrix glitches that Darius studied extensively: relationships that completely defied social programming and statistical probability.
He worked with people who were told they'd never find love because of their age, appearance, circumstances, or past. The social system had convinced them they were unworthy or undesirable.
But when they connected with their soul's true worth, when they embodied their soul's perfect blueprint, they attracted relationships that seemed to come from a completely different reality.
Not just any relationships, soul-level partnerships with people who recognized and cherished their true essence. Connections that bypassed all the superficial criteria the system uses to judge compatibility.
According to Darius, your soul operates on love frequencies that are invisible to the system programming. When you embody these frequencies, you attract experiences that the system says are impossible.
The same principle applies to friendships, family healing, even professional relationships. Soul-level connection transcends all the barriers the system creates between people.
So what's actually happening when these impossible outcomes occur? According to Darius, awakened souls create what he calls reality cascade events.
Here's how it works. The system operates on the assumption that consciousness is produced by matter, that your thoughts and intentions are just brain activity with no real power.
But your soul knows the opposite is true. Consciousness creates matter, intention shapes reality, and spiritual power can literally rewrite the laws of physics.
When you operate from full soul authority, you're not trying to work within the system's limitations. You're accessing the level of reality where those limitations are created, and from that level, you can change them.
Darius found that the more completely someone embodies their soul power, the more reality bends around them. It's like they're broadcasting a different frequency of possibility, and physical reality has to conform to match it.
The matrix glitches happen because the system's programming can't account for consciousness operating at quantum levels. Their models break down when faced with unlimited spiritual power.
Now, here's what's fascinating about the system's response to these reality-breaking events. They can't acknowledge that soul power is real because that would expose how powerless their entire control structure actually is.
So they've developed a whole vocabulary to dismiss soul victories. Coincidence, lucky break, statistical anomaly, placebo effect, spontaneous remission. Anything to avoid admitting that consciousness can override their programming.
Now, this is where his analysis gets, I think, really interesting. According to Darius, this isn't just intellectual denial, it's survival instinct. If people truly understood their soul's power to break any limitation, the entire system of control would collapse overnight.
They need you to believe you're powerless because your powerlessness is the foundation of their authority. The moment you realize you can rewrite reality through spiritual power, their hold over you completely dissolves.
That's why they work so hard to pathologize spiritual experiences, to make soul power seem dangerous or delusional. They're not protecting you, they're protecting their system from you.
But here's what gives me the most hope. Darius discovered that soul power is contagious. When one person breaks through limitation, it makes it easier for everyone around them to do the same.
It's like each matrix glitch creates a crack in the system's programming. Other souls can sense that breakthrough and use it as a doorway to their own freedom.
That's why the controllers work so hard to suppress these stories, to make them seem rare or impossible. They know that if people understood how common soul victories actually are, it would trigger a mass awakening.
Every time you use your soul weapon successfully, every time you create a reality that the system said was impossible, you're not just liberating yourself, you're creating permission for countless others to claim their power too.
That's why Darius calls awakened souls system breakers. They don't just escape the matrix, they create cracks that help others escape too.
So, we've seen how soul power can override any system limitation, create impossible outcomes, and literally rewrite reality. But this brings us to the ultimate question. What is your soul's true capacity when it's fully unleashed? Because according to Darius J. Wright, everything we've shared so far is just a beginning. Your soul's actual power operates on levels that make these matrix glitches look like warm-up exercises.
Coming up, we're diving into what Darius calls multidimensional soul authority, your spirit's ability to exist and create across multiple realities simultaneously. This is where the real revolution begins.
What we're about to share will fundamentally alter how you see yourself and your place in reality. According to Darius J. Wright, everything we've discussed so far, the soul weapons, the matrix glitches, the reality overrides, that's all entry-level soul power. The ultimate truth he discovered is this: your soul doesn't just exist in this reality. This entire reality exists within your soul. You're not a small being trying to survive in a vast, hostile system. You're an infinite consciousness that's dreaming the system into existence.
Let that sink in for a moment. The system that seems so overwhelming, so controlling, so powerful, it's actually a temporary projection within your eternal spiritual essence. Darius calls this multidimensional soul authority, and when you truly understand it, the entire game changes. You stop asking the system for permission and start operating from the level where systems are created and dissolved. Here's what Darius discovered that mainstream spirituality doesn't teach. Your soul exists across multiple dimensions simultaneously. While your ego mind experiences linear time and physical limitation, your spirit is operating in quantum reality.
In one dimension, you might be struggling with financial challenges, but in another dimension, you're already abundant. In one timeline, you're dealing with relationship conflict, but in another timeline, you're surrounded by love and harmony.
According to Darius, awakened souls learn to access these parallel aspects of themselves and bring the highest timeline possibilities into their current reality. This isn't fantasy or wishful thinking. This is how consciousness actually works at quantum levels. You're not stuck with whatever reality you're currently experiencing because your soul has access to infinite versions of your existence.
The system wants you to believe you're trapped in one linear experience, but your soul knows you're the author of unlimited possibilities. Now, here's where this gets really practical. Darius found that your soul operates like a quantum computer. It can process infinite possibilities simultaneously and select the optimal outcomes for your growth and service.
But most people never access this capacity because they're running on ego programming instead of soul intelligence. Their mental computer is trying to solve multidimensional problems with linear thinking.
The technique Darius teaches is profound in its simplicity. When facing any challenge or decision, you bypass your analytical mind and ask your soul directly, what does my highest timeline self already know about this situation? Then you listen not with your brain, but with your entire being. The answer comes as knowing, as feeling, as sudden clarity that transcends logical analysis.
People who master this technique start making decisions that seem impossibly wise, accessing solutions that no amount of thinking could have produced, and navigating complexity with effortless grace. Because they're not limited to their current knowledge. They're accessing their soul's infinite intelligence that spans all dimensions and all possibilities.
Now, here's something crucial that Darius emphasizes. There's a massive difference between ego resistance and soul power, and confusing them can actually keep you trapped in system programming. Ego resistance is reactive. It fights against the system from fear, anger, or victimhood. It's still operating within the system's framework, just pushing back against it.
But soul power is creative. It doesn't fight the system, it transcends it by operating from a completely different level of reality. It's not reactive, it's generative. According to Darius, when you're operating from ego resistance, you're still giving the system your power by making it your point of reference. But when you operate from soul authority, the system becomes irrelevant.
Soul power doesn't need to prove itself or defend itself because it knows it's operating from the source level where all power originates. This is why some people who think they're awakened are actually just trapped in spiritual ego. They're fighting the matrix instead of transcending it.
This brings us to what Darius calls the most important shift in human consciousness, moving from seeking system permission to operating from soul authority. Most people spend their entire lives asking external authorities for permission to exist, to create, to love, to prosper, to express their gifts. They're looking for validation from systems that have no real power over their soul.
But when you understand your multidimensional nature, you realize you don't need permission from any external source. Your soul is the ultimate authority on your existence because your soul is creating your existence.
This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive of others. According to Darius, true soul authority is deeply humble because it recognizes the same divine essence in everyone. But it means you stop asking career counselors for permission to follow your passion. Stop asking financial advisors for permission to create abundance. Stop asking relationship experts for permission to love authentically.
You start living from the knowing that your soul already contains all the wisdom, all the power, and all the authority you need to create whatever reality serves your highest evolution.
But Darius is very clear about something, and we need to address this head-on. Fully embracing your soul's sovereignty will fundamentally alter every aspect of your existence. When you stop operating from system programming and start operating from soul authority, your entire life reorganizes around your authentic spiritual essence. And that can be intense.
Relationships that were based on limitation programming might end. Career paths that were built on external validation might dissolve. Identities that were constructed from social conditioning might completely transform.
According to Darius, this isn't punishment or loss. It's liberation. But your ego mind might experience it as death because everything it thought was real is being replaced by something infinitely more authentic. He calls this the soul sovereignty initiation, and not everyone is ready for that level of transformation. It requires absolute commitment to truth over comfort, authenticity over approval. But for those who are ready, it's the most liberating experience possible. Finally living as the infinite being you've always been instead of the limited character you were programmed to play.
Finally, let's address something that Darius emphasizes repeatedly. With unlimited spiritual power comes unlimited responsibility.
When you realize you're creating your reality from the soul level, you can no longer play victim to circumstances. Every experience becomes a choice. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth.
But more than that, according to Darius, awakened souls become responsible for holding frequency for humanity's collective evolution. Your consciousness affects the entire planetary field.
This means how you think, how you feel, how you choose to embody your power. All of this contributes to either humanity's awakening or humanity's continued sleep. It's not about saving anyone or forcing awakening on others. It's about living so authentically from your soul power that you give everyone permission to remember their own infinite nature.
Darius found that every soul operating from full spiritual authority becomes what he calls a reality anchor, someone who stabilizes higher possibilities so others can access them more easily.
Your liberation isn't just personal, it's planetary. Every system limitation you transcend makes it easier for everyone else to transcend those same limitations. So where does this leave us? We've journeyed from understanding why systems fear your soul, through the weapons you carry, the glitches you can create, and finally to your ultimate power as a multidimensional being.
But knowledge without application remains just information. The question is, are you ready to stop living as a victim of systems and start embodying the sovereign spiritual authority you've always been?
Because in our conclusion, we're going to give you the exact protocol Darius developed to activate full soul sovereignty, plus the one daily practice that can transform your entire relationship with reality.
Let's bring this revolutionary journey full circle. We started with a declaration, soul versus system, why your spirit is more powerful than any matrix, and we've proven that declaration beyond any doubt.
We exposed why every system of control fears your awakened soul, because you operate from quantum consciousness that they cannot understand, predict, or manipulate.
We revealed your 4 soul weapons: intuitive sovereignty to bypass mental programming, energetic boundaries to protect your spiritual field, timeline jumping to escape limitation paths, and soul contract renegotiation to rewrite your spiritual agreements.
We showed you real cases of awakened souls creating matrix glitches, impossible healings, miraculous manifestations, and reality-bending outcomes that prove your spirit's unlimited power.
And we unveiled the ultimate truth. You're not a small being trapped in a vast system. You're an infinite consciousness within which all systems exist as temporary projections.
And as Darius J. Wright says in his most profound teaching, your soul is not just in this reality is in your soul. The moment you truly understand this, you stop asking the world for permission to be powerful and start granting the world permission to witness your magnificence.
That statement changes everything. You're not here to survive the system, you're here to transcend it by embodying the infinite spiritual authority you've always been.
Now, as promised, here's the Soul Sovereignty Activation Protocol that Darius developed, the daily practice that can completely transform your relationship with reality.
Every morning, before you engage with any external system, spend 10 minutes in what Darius calls sovereign alignment. Here's the exact process.
First, connect with your breath and drop out of your thinking mind into your soul's deeper knowing. Then make these 3 declarations from your spiritual authority.
Declaration 1. I am an infinite soul temporarily focused through this physical experience. No system defines my worth, limits my potential, or controls my destiny.
Declaration 2. I activate my soul weapons now. My intuition overrides all programming. My energy field is impenetrable. My timeline possibilities are unlimited, and my spiritual contracts serve my highest evolution.
Declaration 3. I operate from soul authority today. I give myself permission to create, to prosper, to love, and to express my gifts without seeking validation from any external source.
According to Darius, this simple practice, done consistently, literally rewrites your reality programming at the quantum level. You start showing up as the sovereign being you truly are instead of the limited character you were programmed to play.
But before we wrap up, we want to hear from you.
After everything we've shared today, here's what we're curious about. Which of the 4 soul weapons resonates most strongly with you right now? Is it intuitive sovereignty, energetic boundaries, timeline jumping, or soul contract renegotiation?
And here's an even deeper question. What's one area of your life where you've been asking the system for permission instead of operating from your soul's natural authority?
Also, have you ever experienced what we talked about as a matrix glitch? A moment when reality bent around you in ways that seemed impossible. We'd love to hear those stories because they inspire others to recognize their own power.
Now, if this message ignited something in your soul, if you feel like we just gave you permission to step into power you've always known was yours, we have an important request.
Think about the people in your life who are ready to hear that they're more powerful than any system trying to control them. Not everyone is prepared for this level of spiritual sovereignty, and that's perfectly okay.
But there might be someone who's been waiting their entire life to hear that their soul is unlimited, that their spirit is sovereign, and that they have weapons to defeat any form of control.
Share this video with them. Send it to that friend who always questions authority, that family member who sees through the illusions, that colleague who knows there's more to reality than what we're told.
Because, according to Darius, every awakened soul creates ripples that help others remember their power. Your sharing this could be the catalyst that transforms someone's entire existence from victim to sovereign.
And here's what we really want to know in the comments. Which declaration from the Soul Sovereignty Protocol hit you the deepest? Write it down and tell us why it resonated with your soul.
Also, share your biggest breakthrough from today's video. Was it realizing your soul's multidimensional nature? Understanding your spiritual weapons? Recognizing that you don't need system permission to be powerful?
We read every single comment, and there's something magical that happens when you publicly declare your commitment to soul sovereignty. It's like announcing to the universe that you're ready to step into your full spiritual authority.
And speaking of stepping into power, next week we're diving into something that will take your understanding even deeper. The soul codes they're desperately trying to delete.
We're talking about specific information encoded in your spiritual DNA that reveals your soul's mission, your unique gifts, and your role in humanity's awakening. And there are forces working overtime to prevent you from accessing these codes.
It's like having a secret instruction manual for your existence that's been hidden in your soul's operating system. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on because this information could literally unlock your entire reason for being here.
But you don't have to wait until next week to continue expanding your soul power. Right now, there are 2 videos appearing on your screen that will deepen everything we've shared today.
On the left, you'll see Akashic Breakthrough, how Darius accesses your soul's infinite records. The techniques for tapping into your soul's eternal memory and wisdom across all lifetimes.
And on the right, we've got Quantum Leap Warning, the consciousness shift that changes everything. Essential preparation for the massive spiritual awakening that Darius says is accelerating on our planet right now.
Click on whichever one calls to your soul most strongly. Trust that inner knowing. That's your intuitive sovereignty already guiding you towards your next level of awakening.
Remember, this isn't just about gaining knowledge. This is about reclaiming your birthright as a sovereign spiritual being who's more powerful than any system ever created.
Continue your journey of self-discovery. Choose one of those videos. Keep expanding your consciousness, and most importantly, start living from the unshakable knowing that your soul is absolutely unlimited.
Until next time, operate from soul authority, trust your infinite power, and remember, you're not here to survive the matrix. You're here to transcend it completely.
Your soul versus any system, your soul wins every time. Go claim your sovereignty.